I know, I wanted to be a pilot, of course, but they did tests. Actually, you went in for the first 3 months, and that's when they classified you what you were best suited for. And they had examinations, you know. It was like going back to school the first 3 months. Lectures, physical exercises, had to be in bed for a certain time. It was pretty strict. It was like being at school. And then they had the classification. There was 3 officers would interview you with the results that you'd achieved and said, we've decided to make you a navigator. So you had no choice. But a part of the test, it was a test on your depth perception. You know, there was that angle between your eyes and the ground. And mine was defective. They said you'd be trying to land the aircraft about 25 feet in the air. And there's no use for the aircraft and the crew. So they made me a navigator. But I was quite happy with that. I liked geography and that sort of thing at school. And I think they were quite right. Well, I think you had to be a good navigator to make 30 trips. I joined up in 43, about 42, and I spent most of 43 in Canada. The navigation course was pretty strong. We would start at 7:30 in the morning and not finish until 5:30 at night. Initially, lectures all day, like a high school. And you had to be there and be ticked off and so on. And then we started to fly after a month or so. And you're flying schedules, daytime. And of course, for astronav, you had to fly at night because you couldn't see the stars in the daytime. But yeah, it was full on, a lot of subjects. Well, Stan was 31. He was an old man. We called him the old man. He was trained by Sir Charles Kingsford Smith. Okay. He took up flying before the war, I think about 1938, and he learned to fly from Sir Charles Kingsford Smith. Well, he did it on his own expense, and that before he joined the Air Force. And he was posted to a training place at Cootamundra. So he gained a lot of hours training navigators. And then he put in to go to England, and that's where we met up. And he was looking for a navigator, I was looking for a pilot, and we both met the bomb owner, the one who was later injured, and we sort of paddled up in the mess and said, well, we'll stick together. Okay, we want a couple of gunners and a wireless operator. Well, I had trained with a wireless operator in England, and I said, well, what about him? So we met up with him, and he said, oh yeah, he'd go along with us. And the 2 gunners were from Western Australia. They came as a package deal, so we picked them up. They were both ex-army. They'd got sick of the AIF. They were in Australia and hadn't got mixed up in the front lines or anything, and they were getting edgy and transferred to the Air Force. And this was, well, we crewed up in early 44. Well, the navigator and the pilot had to go first. They were down, they would come over the loudspeaker. The following crews were required for a briefing at 1600 hours, which is 4 p.m. Well, we would go down, the pilot and I would go down to the briefing room, and I'd be issued with a map. They had what the target was on a board, covered by a sheet. They'd pull that back when you came in. You'd say, oh God, Berlin. And then they'd issue the maps, and quite often you'd have maybe 3 maps you had to join up to say Berlin or wherever, Nuremberg, and there was a pot of paste, you had to paste them together, and of course then they were a bit damp, you had to wait for them to dry up a bit, and then you'd follow the tapes on the thing. The first point A would be on the Dutch coast, and then another point B would be here, but you didn't go straight in, of course, because that was a giveaway to the German radar. So you'd have maybe 3 points, and then the bombing run, maybe north and south. We were coming in from the west, and then you'd do the same on the way out. And there was a time at each point, and you were given, you had to do it within 3 minutes. That was a part of the navigator's job, to be at point A within 3 minutes, and at a certain height, and they would stipulate what level we're on. They were tiered back. This would be 21,000 feet, 22,000 feet, 23, and slightly different times, 3 minutes sail, 4 minutes between each. When you'd have, say, 800 bombers going out, just for safety, some good Lancasters and some were faster than others, you know, they were like Ford cars, some are better than others. Well, if the pilot had a good one, he'd say, oh, well, damn the speed limit, we're heading, and they'd be up at 23,000 feet and you'd be at 21,000 feet over the target together. Now that happened a few times with us. Actually, the only one that could see a plane directly above us was a mid-upper gunner. And several times he yelled out, hey, there's a lake with its bomb doors open 20 feet above us. And I remember the comment by the pilot, he said, oh, that's dangerous. Exactly. There would be a bombing run when you were straight and level, you couldn't deviate at all. And if something happened, you could, but you see, you had a full bomb load, and the old aircraft was a bit heavy, even to do evasive action. Yeah, but you'd be straight and level on, say that's the target, and the bomb aimer would take over. There'd be no navigation, of course. Yeah, you could relax for 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5, depending. I used to stand up and have a look at the target. There was a side window, and of course, if they'd been bombing, oh, it was like a blooming Christmas tree, you know. Yeah, lights and fires and bombs going on. There was plenty of searchlights, but that was what we tried to avoid, because one searchlight would get you, next thing you know you got 10, and 20, 50, and they called that being coned. And of course that drew all the AK guns, because all they had to do was fire at the apex of the cone. And the night pilots, any night pilots around, they say, oh gee, there's a butterfly over here, we'll get, and you have 20 night pilots. We were coned a few times. Well, there was a manoeuvre, you sideslipped, the pilot knew of course, he sideslipped away, and if you had 20 of them on you, or 30, some of them might pick you up, they'll get you again. But then you do the same thing again. We always managed to get away. Well, we were on our 26th trip, and having to do 30 was the finish. Well, not the finish, but you had a rest after 30. They give you 6 months off. And, but we're on our 26th, and we're about 10 minutes from the target, which was the Dortmund-Ems Canal, just near the Ruhr actually. And this was a regular target because the canal water banks were raised above the surrounding. The water was there about like 20 feet above the surrounding. And if you breached the banks, the barges were all left high and dry, and it flooded the rest of the farming countryside. This Fokker-Wulff 190 came up. It was one of the newer night fighters. It was jet assisted and could take off and get up to our height, which was anything from up to 25,000 feet. But they could do this pretty quickly with a jet assistant. Anyway, this bugger came up and he's in front of us like this. And the only one that could see him was the Walmower. He was lying down here. And he opened up with his tracer, which you can see, the red tracer, but that was interspersed with high explosive ammunition. It was like 1 in 3 or something. It was so he could aim. You could see his red tracers going. And he must have hit the Walmower and broke away, of course. And after an engagement like that, the pilot used to contact everybody on the intercom and say, you know, are you all right? Oh yes. Answer, is there any damage in your area? Yes or no, dependent. Anyway, I was given the request to go down and have a look because he hadn't answered to what bloke down the bomb over. And he was flat out spread on the bomb site, which was all set up ready to drop the bombs. He'd done that before, and apparently this night fighter got him with one of the early bullets, and it went in, which side? Left side, and came out there. And when I saw him, oh boy, he was a mess. His eyes were sticking out on his cheeks, and there was blood everywhere. I wasn't too sure whether he was dead or alive. Anyway, we put him back in there was a temporary bed you could pull down, and we had some medication, and I left the wireless operator to shoot some morphine into him because he was starting to struggle. Oh, I've got to drop the bombs, and you know, blood all over his face. And so I left him with the wireless operator, and he gave him some morphine and settled him down. But we never thought he would get back to England again, but he did. Well, because I had to get back then and start navigating, because you couldn't let it go for too long. You know, you're doing about 300 miles per hour, and so in 5 minutes, what's that? You're going about 6 miles. So, and I'd been occupied with this guy for maybe 10 minutes. And the pilots, well, the bombs are gone. The engineer dropped the bombs because all he had to do was press the button, opened the bomb doors, and on that night, we breached the banks. Anyway, on the way back, we lost an engine. Had 3 left, of course, and just near the Dutch coast we lost another one. Well, we had several more attacks, and whatever had happened was with 2 engines coming back over the North Sea, and the pilot said, oh, I think we better make for a crash landing drone. There were special drones if you're injured on board or the aircraft had been damaged, which it had. There was 2 engines were missing, and there was flames coming out of the wing. But I had to work out a course for this other aerodrome, which was a crash landing drone near Norfolk, right on the coast. And our radio had gone, and we're losing height. And they set a place for you to come in over the England. You know, there's a span like that. You come in at a certain height, if you're okay. And we were none of those. We were down to about 2,000 feet. And behind time, there was a stipulated time, because the gunners on the English coast would be looking for buzz bombs and night fighters and all sorts of things. So we're over the coast about the time I predicted, but we're in cloud, and suddenly there's all hell broke loose. It's the English gunners had picked it up, and having a flame coming out of it, I think they thought we were a buzz bomb. You'd know all about buzz bombs, and they were like a pilotless bomb, really, but flying on its own. And they had a flame coming out the back, and they thought we were a buzz bomb. They started to shoot at us. Well, we couldn't tell them where we were because we had no radio. But what we did have was colours of the day. They gave you with a Very pistol. It was set in the Astrodome, actually. So Pat, the wildlife officer, was handing me these things, and I was closest to the Astrodome. I'm putting these in and shooting them. So let them know down below. And the colours of the day would change every day. The Germans wouldn't know the colours of the day. Let's say red, yellow today, it'd be yellow, green the next day. But anyway, they saw them when they drifted down through the clouds. They stopped. It was right on the coast, and we landed in a crosswind, and the pilot was quite angry about that. There was about a 40 mile an hour crosswind, and a damaged aircraft with a sick crew member. Anyway, we landed at the end of the runway, and we were out of oil. We couldn't go any further anyway. But the English ground staff all came out, and an ambulance for the bomb owner. But these English blokes said, "Oh, the gunners on the coast are having a field day today. They've shot down 5 buzz bombs and 2 night fighters." And we said, "Yeah, they bloody, you got a leg too." Oh, and the first trip, the Germans had camouflaged Peenemünde. It was, well, they had a spoof place quite apart from the main target, and that's what we bombed. Well, they marked it, the pathfinders marked it, so we bombed it. But it was galvanised iron and cardboard. Made a hell of a mess. And we came back, and the briefing, they knew, they said, you've missed it. You bombed the wrong time. And they didn't blame us, but it was the pathfinders. Well, even the barmaids in Lincoln said, "You'll be back within a week." Like, they knew more about it than we did. And, dead right. We're about 8 days later, up on the boards, Peenemünde again. And unfortunately, we were on that. Same 11-hour trip, back on the same trip. But we got it the second time. They didn't make a mistake. The second time, this was rather worrying. We knew that if we went back, they would have accumulated their AK guns, their searchlights, and night fighters would be brought in around the target, and that was dead right. And that's what happened. That's the time one of the times we got coned. You know, it was a million searchlights, there was a million candle power, and we got caught, and we were waiting for the AK to go off and whatnot. But the pilot side-slipped it out, side-slipped it in, we lost it. Well, I was 21 on operations, on the squadron, and the oldest, apart from the skipper, was 22. And I think he was the tail gunner, was 22. The mid-upper gunner was only 20. But they were all, you had to be young and stupid. You'd be briefing at 5 o'clock, take off at 7 p.m, and then you'd be doing a night trip. You'd come back at 3 a.m, have your meal. They always put on a meal when you came back, usually eggs and bacon or something like that. They treated us pretty well because there was food rationing in England. The locals didn't get what we were getting. And we can go back and have second eggs and bacon or cereal or whatever. It was completely free. And there was fruit on the table, which wasn't available for the general population. But when we went on leave, they give us food coupons, meat mainly, and we'd be billeted out. You could put in for a billet from people who are willing to have you on leave. And boy, did they like those coupons. When we're on this DC-3s up around the Pacific, one time we went to Manus Island. We were taking off for Morotai or Biak or somewhere. And we're out over the ocean, and there was a fire in one engine. We only had 2 engines, and the pilot said, "Oh, we better find a drone to put down." And he said, asked me, he said, "Is there a drone handy?" And I looked at the little map, and the maps in New Guinea were a bit sparse, you know, they weren't as accurate. And I said, "Well, it looks as though there's a drone on a little island just out of the north of New Guinea, Wackney Island." So he said, "Give me a course for that." So away we went. On the way, we dipped and we put the fire out actually, but we landed this little island, and it turned out to be there was 2,000 Negro Americans there, containing 5,000 Japs holed up on the mainland, just a mile or so of water. And there was no fighting, you know, just, it was about the end of the war, starving the Japs out. They weren't being supplied with food, so there was no fighting, it was just a matter of them giving up. Anyway, yeah, to put the story into perspective, we had 12 little nurses on board, British nurses, fresh out from the UK, pink cheeks, never been overseas before. There was a lot of POWs to come back, that we'd load up with POWs, and that was pathetic. Some of those islands, they'd been there for years, and we'd be full, and it was up to the pilot to get a load. If he thought you were overloaded, he wouldn't take any more. And I hang on to the wings, POWs. Oh, the poor buggers had been up there in a POW camp for 2 to 3 years, and they just wanted to get home. But we couldn't
take them all.
Couldn't take them all, no. This was our L-Love we had, Lancaster. A lovely aircraft, fast, reliable, and it had done about 70 trips or something, so we considered it a bit lucky when we took it over. And we did 18, which is on the back there, which took it up to around 87 trips over in Germany. And we'd finished it, handed it over, and then another Australian crew took over, and I think it was on about their 4th or 5th trip. There's quite a mystery about it. Or perhaps I should tell you how this came about. I had a friend in the RAF who lived in Nottingham, I think it was, and he rang me up and he said, "Would you like a piece of your old Lancaster?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be great." He said, "They've discovered it outside of Peterborough, about 10 foot down. They were excavating for a building or something, and they'd had the bulldozer down, and they discovered all these bits." And he made inquiries as to what Lancaster it was, and it turned out to be old L-Love that we'd found. And he said, "Would you like a piece of it?" I said, "It'd be great." I said, "Could you get 7? Because all the crew were Australians, scattered around." And he said, "Yes." He said, I think I can get 7 pieces. The mid-upper gunner had a big workshop in Western Australia, and that of course was Jarrah. He set that up in his workshop, and we got, each member of our crew got a piece of this. So it is memorabilia.